Hi, my name's Paul Grogan. Welcome to my Games of the Month video log for April 2025. I'm actually recording this video on the 5th of May, but I'm only going to be talking about all of the games that I've played in April. The reason for that is that I was originally planning to record this video log last week, and I've got a huge amount of games to talk about, so I'm going to cut it off just talking about the games that I've played in April. Now, what that means is, as this video goes live, there's going to be lots of other videos on the channel from earlier on this month. I'm going to mention briefly those games now so that if you want to watch them, you can go and watch the videos, but I'm not actually going to talk about them until next month's video log. Now, without going into too many details, one of the reasons why this video log is delayed is that I was having a really bad mental health week last week for a number of various reasons, and it pretty much knocked me out for about 2 or 3 days. I didn't feel at all comfortable or in a position to be able to, really do anything. And if you've seen the content that I've created in the last few days, you'll be thinking, whoa, how does that make any sense? It is true that over the weekend just gone, the bit that I'm not going to talk about in this video log, I did about 12 live streams, but that came at the end of, what was a pretty bad week for me. And I just wanted to give a shout out to all of my Patreon supporters, because I did sort of share a little bit of what I was going through last week, and a number of them reached out to me and were very supportive, so thank you very much to you. So what's going to be in this video is, all of the games that I played in April. I'm going to talk about them. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the games which are on the channel, which if you want to go and watch them, their videos are there from the last few days. And then we're going to talk about what's coming up this month. I will give you a Patreon update as usual and tell you a few other things that's going on. So let's dive in and start talking about all of the games that I played. And the first game I'm going to talk about is actually a game which went live on GameFound just a few hours ago. This is Casus Belli, a new game from Martin Wallace, published by his company, Wallace Designs. And went live on GameFound earlier on today. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. But I first played this, or at least I started to play it, on April the 2nd. One of my Patreon supporters, Rachel, thank you very much, Rachel, for this, read through the rulebook in advance, and the plan was that we would sit down and play a game of it on Tabletop Simulator as the initial part of me learning how to play the game in preparation for the video that I was going to be creating. Unfortunately, had a family emergency that night. We got about 30 minutes into the game and then I had to disappear. So the afternoon afterwards, got together with Rachel and we actually played through a 2-player game of it on Tabletop Simulator. Then I had a practice game of it at my local club on the 4th. And then we did the live playthrough on the 5th. So if you want to see a playthrough of Casus Belli, that is live on the channel now. It actually went live on the 5th of April. And it is linked to in the campaign, which went live earlier on today. Now, Martin Wallace is a genius games designer. Full disclosure here, this was a sponsored video and I am friends with Martin. I've been friends with Martin for many years, and I have a huge amount of respect for Martin Wallace as a designer because he's designed such a wide variety of games, and some of the games that he's designed are extremely clever and do things very differently, and Casus Belli is one of those. Now, Casus Belli is kind of loosely based on a previous game of his called A Handful of Stars, which was loosely based on, A Few Acres of Snow. Now, A Few Acres of Snow was a fairly groundbreaking game by Martin Wallace. It was a 2-player card-driven game about a particular war that happened in Canada. And what was clever about the game is this took deck building to another level. What it was is, instead of a deck building game where there were cards in a market that you had to, pay some kind of currency to buy them and put that card in your deck, you had to capture a piece of land. And every land territory in the game came with a specific card. And if you captured that territory, you gained that card and that card went into your deck. And then if your opponent captured that territory off you, you would have to give that card up and you would give it back to them. That's the core idea. So again, Martin took deck building as an idea, put a really interesting twist on it, and created A Few Acres of Snow, which was a 2-player game. Now, moving on forward many, many years, Casus Belli is a game for up to 4 players. I think they're working on a solo mode as well, but it has a similar system. It is a space-themed game, so you have a galaxy map and you are moving your troops around the map and everything else. But essentially, when you take control of a planet, that planet's card goes into your deck and becomes part of your deck. Now, there's a lot more going on in the game than this. For the full details, check out the playthrough. And you don't need to watch the whole playthrough of the game. You just need to probably watch the first 30, 45 minutes to get an idea of how it plays. Now, what's really interesting about this game is, and I don't think I've ever seen this in a game before, I'm not 100% sure if it actually works in a game, but, you know, all credit to Martin for trying something different and doing something different. And I say I'm not sure it works. It does work. It's just so different that you need to be aware of this in the game, because there is a scale in this game. I can't remember what the name of the track is called, but basically as this track moves up and players can manipulate it moving up or moving back down, war might break out. So the galaxy at the moment is peaceful. And the 4 players in the game, or the 3 players in the game, whatever, they are not at war with each other, and you are not allowed to attack the other players. So this is already very different from a lot of other space games like this, where you're moving spaceships around on the board and you're attacking the other players. In this game, you're not allowed to attack the other players, unless you have a Casus Belli counter. Now, only one of the 4 factions, because there is a little bit of asymmetry in the game, starts off with the ability to place a Casus Belli counter on the board. None of the other players are allowed to actually attack the other players, because we're all at peace. War hasn't broken out. And you might play an entire game of it and war might not break out, at which point you count up the victory points based on how many planets you've managed to, you know, colonize and mining operations and things like that, and you work out who won. However, if war does break out, the game changes. And if you are playing a 4-player game, 2 of the factions immediately ally together. So they couldn't attack each other at the start, but even when war breaks out, they still can't attack each other because they are allied together. Then you've got the red faction, which is the one that can place the Casus Belli counters at the start. They are opposed to the other 2 factions. And then you've got the green ones. Can't remember what the green ones are called, but they're really interesting because depending on a certain level, I think it's the corruption track, they can either switch from one side to another. So what you will end up with if war breaks out is you will have a 2 versus 2 game, or you will have a 3 versus 1 game. Now, if that doesn't sound fair for the person who is the one, don't worry, it's all balanced. It all works out, because what happens is if war does break out and it ends up being this team game, you take the average score. So if it ends up being a 3 versus 1 game, then those 3 players add their scores together, divide by 3, and you compare that to the other player's score. So this is the way Martin's designed it. It's really interesting. It's really clever. My concern about the game is that when war does break out, you are supposed to play 2 extra rounds. Now, in our playthrough that we did on the channel, we were already 3 hours into the playthrough. We were on round 7, which I think would have been the last round of the game, and war did break out. Now, when war breaks out, you play 2 extra rounds. And at that point, it was already 10 o'clock at night, and we had to say, look, we're going to explain what happens when war breaks out, but unfortunately, we can't stay here till midnight playing this game. So we had to call the playthrough short. Just be aware of that the game length can be considerably longer if war breaks out. Other than that, I won't go into too many details of the actual mechanisms or anything like that. Go and check out the playthrough video. Definitely check out the Game Found campaign if that is something of interest to you. Next up, on the 5th of April, I went round to my brother-in-law's house and we had a mini Star Wars day. Now, you might be a little confused about why I am having a Star Wars day on the 5th of April. Well, I did actually have a Star Wars Day on the 4th of May, just a couple of days ago, but this was a bonus Star Wars Day because me, my brother-in-law Malcolm, and my nephew Alex were all Star Wars fans, and we've played a few Star Wars games before, and I went over there and we played Outer Rim, which is always fantastic. For the record, Outer Rim is my favourite Star Wars game to play. I absolutely love the game. Played it about 8 or 9 times and just love the way that the game plays. And then I taught them how to play Mandalorian Adventures, and they played the first 2 scenarios of that. I didn't play that game with them. I was kind of just running the game and helping them with the rules, but they played that. So let's talk briefly about Outer Rim, which I've spoken about many, many times. In fact, back in the day when I used to do review videos, I have done a review of Outer Rim. That was probably before the expansion got released. The expansion, in my opinion, is not essential. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. If you have the expansion, you should always use it. But I played Outer Rim many, 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 many times without the expansion. And it was a great game, and it would continue to be a great game. Therefore, the expansion is not essential. The expansion makes the game better, yes. And if you've got it, you should play with it. But you don't actually need it to play the game. So Outer Rim, for those people who don't know, it is a 1 to 4 player game where you are either bounty hunters or transporting cargo. It's a sandbox style game. And in the game, you will be picking up and delivering cargo from one planet to another to make money. You will be upgrading your character by buying gear and weapons. You'll be upgrading the ship that you're flying in. You'll be getting bounty jobs to go and find people and bring them in either by eliminating them or capturing them. And you'll be doing jobs such as the Kessel Run or freeing rebel spies. You can basically work for anybody. There's the rebels, there's the Imperials, there's the Syndicate, there's the Hutts, and you have reputation depending on what jobs you do for which people. It's just a fantastic sandbox game. It does take quite a long time. It does have roll for resolution, but it works really well. And yeah, I absolutely love playing it. So, Mandalorian Adventures. Now, I have only played 2 scenarios from the 4 that are included in Mandalorian Adventures. And on that day, after we'd finished Outer Rim, I showed them the Mandalorian. And as I say, I taught them the first 2 scenarios of the game. I haven't explored any more about it, and I really want to, because one thing that was unusual when this game came out is it looked on the surface that it only had 4 scenarios included in the game, but it doesn't. What they did is they took the marketing decision, or just the decision, to lock away certain content within envelopes and said, look, play through the first 4 scenarios and then open these envelopes. And I absolutely agree with that as an idea, as a principle of like, look, get started, play these, and then we'll show you everything else the game has to offer after that. The downside of that is, on the surface, it looked like the game only had 4 scenarios, and a lot of people at the time when it came out were concerned by the lack of content for this game. But let me tell you, once you have played those 4 scenarios and you unlock all of these extra content, it is different missions that you can use on the same map. So yes, the game only comes with 4 maps, but there are multiple scenarios that you can play. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that scenarios can be played on any of the maps. They have really managed to do a really good job with the system in that you can, the map is basically just, here's a map, and all of these scenarios will work on that map. And if you go onto their website as well, they've got about 8 bonus scenarios that you can download and again, play on any map. So there's a huge amount of variability and replayability in the game, a lot more than was initially, a lot more than what it looked like initially. Now, I have a question for you if you have played The Mandalorian. Bearing in mind, I've only played the first and the second scenarios, and each of those scenarios has 2 characters. So both of the times that I've played both of those scenarios, it has been with 2 players. So one player controls one character, and that is just like most other games. But if you have 3 players or even 4 players, you still only play with 2 characters in those first 2 scenarios. Some of the later scenarios, I believe, do take you up to 3 or 4 characters, but there are rules in the game for playing with more or fewer players than there are characters. And I'm just curious to see if anybody's tried it. And if you have, let me know what you think. I have only just browsed the rules on it, but the way I think it works is if you have a 2 character scenario and 3 players, then a player does not play a character. What happens is you end up with a hand of cards, and those cards are a mix of the 2 different characters in the game. So when it's your turn and you're playing cards, you play a card for, one character, and it's that character that takes an action. It's just a bit different. I have not tried it, but I'm curious to know if anybody has. Other than that, this is a game I want to play more of. I have only played the first 2 scenarios. I want to play the others, and I want to try some of the other scenarios as well. Now, also on that day, while Malcolm disappeared off to make some dinner, I got out the Dungeons & Dragons Dicemasters, I think it's Dicemasters Battle for Faerun. I managed to get this. This was a library in Taunton that had a copy of this game. I don't know how they got a copy of this game, but basically they had a load of games in this library and they were getting rid of them. And a friend of mine who regularly runs gaming events at the library said, oh, Dicemasters, I think Paul's mentioned that before. I'll see if he wants it. So yes, I got this copy of this game, and it's Dicemasters, which is an evolution of the Quarriors system, which you might not think is the kind of game that I would like. However, I do actually quite like it. It is a little bit of fun, and it's a collectible dice game. I haven't bought this set. I got given it for free. It is just the starter set, but it's essentially the Quarriors system, but flipped the other way round. So instead of drafting dice and rolling dice in order to try and get a number of glory points, and once you get to 20 you win, it's the classic, you're trying to defeat your opponent and you're trying to knock them down. But what you do is you roll a bunch of dice, you then spend energy to summon some of those dice. You can then attack with those dice, and if they get through, because your opponent has a chance to block them, then they deal damage to your opponent, etc, etc. A lot of things that are very familiar if you've played many collectible card games like that, but it's done with dice. It does have the extra random element of the dice instead of the cards, but it doesn't have cards. It replaces the randomness of the card draw with the dice. So there are cards in the game, but those cards actually stay on the table, and those cards just tell you what the dice do. The dice go in a bag, you shuffle the bag together, you draw the dice out, you roll them, etc, etc. It's a bit of fun. I quite like it. I do want to play more of it, but, you know, like always, there's not enough time to play all of these games. On the day after that, there was a games day at the local Cranbrook gaming group, and I used it as an opportunity to get in my first practice game of the new Nippon Zaibatsu. Nippon was a game from 2015, designed by Paulo Soledad and Nuno Bizarro Sentiero. It was my number one game of 2015. I was a huge fan of the original game. It was originally published by Watch Your Game, which, you know, things that happened to Watch Your Game were not great, but Watch Your Game is no longer with us. And yeah, a new company, Crown D Games, have brought it back and they're doing a new version. And at the time of me recording this video, it's actually live right now. The campaign is live. You can go and check it out and see what this new version is about. It's not just a reprint. They have updated it. They've tweaked a number of the rules. They've done completely new artwork and graphic design. But I was very happy to be involved in this because I'm a huge fan of the original game and I'm friends with Paolo and Nuno, and I spoke to them and I said, I'd love to be involved in this campaign somehow and do a playthrough video. So the first thing I did was that game that I played on the 17th, and then, was the day after the Star Wars day. So on the Sunday, I played Nippon. I also then played it again on the 17th, which was another practice game. And then on the 18th, we did a live stream. So that is on the channel now. If you want to go and watch it, it is a tutorial and playthrough of Nippon Zaibatsu. Just be aware that was a prototype version and the rules have already changed. So don't go and watch that video to get a 100% accurate rules video on how you play the game, because it isn't that. It's going to give you a very good idea of how the game plays, but they've already tweaked a few rules and they will probably continue to tweak a few more. So yes, it isn't a proper 100% accurate rules video, but it will give you a good idea of how Nippon plays. That was a sponsored video, but, you know, Nippon was my favourite game of 2015. So is the new version better? Yes, the new version is better. I loved the original game, but the few tweaks that they've made do make it a better game in my opinion. They've taken out some of the tightness in the game and some of the part where if you screw it up, your game is entirely screwed. They give you basically more bonuses when you consolidate, which is a really good thing to do. Gives you a bit more direction, also gives you a bit more flexibility, and gives you another way to get some of the key resources in the game that used to be quite hard to get hold of. So yeah, if you're interested in that, the video's on the channel and the crowdfunding campaign is live. Also, on that Sunday, after I'd played Nippon Zaibatsu, I had a couple of extra games. I played Caracas, which I've spoken about before on the channel. That's like that 30-minute tile laying game, which is extremely clever. And yeah, I've spoken about that a few times, so I won't dwell on it too much here. And I also played Dune Imperium Uprising. I think we played with the Bloodlines expansion as well. Now, that is my first game of Dune Imperium Uprising other than the 6-player game. So I had played it before, but I'd played the 6-player version. And that day was my first day of playing the actual game. And it's a really tricky one because I know a lot of people who are fans of Dune Imperium as a game who've bought Dune Imperium Uprising and then since Bloodlines and will never go back to playing the original game. I love the original game. I love it with the Rise of Ix expansion. And I don't think I can bring myself, even though I have a copy of Dune Imperium Uprising, I can't bring myself to say this has replaced that. I don't know. Let me know what you think. This is one of my questions for this vlog. If you are a Dune Imperium player, are you ever going back to the, not the base game Dune Imperium, but, you know, Dune Imperium with Ix and maybe with Immortality. Are you ever playing that again? Or has Dune Imperium Uprising completely replaced the original one for you? Let me know what you think. I do love the Dune Imperium system. I've also got the digital adaptation, which is the original game, so I'm playing a lot of it on that. And yeah, it's just one of those fantastic games. It is a game, and I've spoken about this before, that I don't generally like to bling out my games because I don't play them enough. But Mark, who I play this game with quite a lot, he's got all of the extra little bits for it. He's got all of the little people, they're all little painted. And then I look at my copy with the little green wooden cubes and I think, oh, sad little cubes. So yeah, maybe at some point in the future I might actually decide to bling out my copy of it. I don't know. My only concern with Dune Imperium Uprising, and this is purely a personal concern, this is not a problem with the game at all, because if it was a problem with the game, everybody would be talking about it. But the fact that the worms double your outcome of the battles in Dune Imperium are already quite strong. They're an absolute key part of the game, and you've got to win probably a couple of battles in order to get the victory points that you will need to win the game. But victory points in Dune Imperium are so hard to get normally, but if you have worms in the battle, it can double the rewards, which means you can actually get 2 victory points for winning a card rather than 1. I don't know, on the surface, on the face of it, when I heard that and when I looked at it, I was like, well, not only are the worms really powerful, but you're also going to get double the rewards for winning the battle. It just felt a bit strong. But as I say, I'm not saying that is a problem with the game, because if it was, it wouldn't have got through playtesting. So I'm sure it's not. It's just something that I looked at and went, ooh, that feels very, very strong. That game that we played of it, I don't believe anybody had any worms apart from maybe even the final battle. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think about it. The next thing I want to talk about is Primal the Awakening. And that's actually what is set up in front of me, because we are playing it tonight. Now, the game that we're playing tonight, I will talk about in the next video log, but in April, we started the campaign. So Primal the Awakening is a game which came out last year. I think it was last year. And the interesting story about this is, if you remember way back in the distant past of 18 months ago, when I was working really hard on the how to play videos for a game called Aeon Trespass Odyssey, I became a part of the community, the Aeon Trespass Odyssey community on their Discord server. And I did that because I was playing the game a lot and I was really getting to grips with the game and really learn the game. And the community there was fantastic. And I got to know a number of the people there. But one of the things that they were speaking about in the other games channel on the Discord server was this game called Primal the Awakening. And so many people on that Discord server were saying how good this game was, that when the publisher, Reggie Games, of Primal the Awakening reached out to me and said, we're interested in sending you a copy of the game for you to do some videos on it, I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is the game that all of those people said was really good. So I said yes, and I looked into it. And on the surface, Primal the Awakening is not the kind of game that you think I might like. It's a boss battler. And unlike Aeon Trespass Odyssey, which is a massive, huge, epic storyline with crafting and narrative and quests and this, that, and the other, and then some boss fights, Primal the Awakening is purely boss fights. It is just, you play the game, and then afterwards you kill the monster and you craft some gear, and then you go on to the next fight. It is purely a boss battler game. And I thought, yeah, I don't know if I'm actually into that. And then a lot of people were telling me, but it's pretty much the same as Marvel Champions. Now, Marvel Champions is potentially a top 10 game for me. I absolutely love Marvel Champions. And I was like, how can that game be anything like Marvel Champions? It's got big miniatures and it's got people with swords and then I got it and I played it and I went, this is a bit like Marvel Champions, because the card play system is very, very similar. Essentially, you have a hand of cards. The cost to play some of those cards is by paying other cards. And some of the other cards that you use to pay for it, they've got little stamina symbols on. So it's either 1, 2, or 3 or whatever. But yeah, you use some of your cards to pay for other cards. Now, that system has been used in other games, but it's putting it all together in a cooperative experience with the players working together to help each other, to position each other in the right way. And I played it a few times when it came out and went, wow, this is something special, this game. I really, really enjoyed it. And I played it probably about 5 times, but I only ever played the prologue. And here I am with this massive box of like 20 different bosses with this huge campaign with all of this content and like a couple of thousand cards or something ridiculous. And all I've ever done is play the prologue because I'm always playing it with new players. So part of the ongoing frustration of I don't get to play the games that I want to play as much as I want to play them, which to be honest, I think everybody has. I made a decision that this was the year where I'm going to play through the entire campaign for Primal the Awakening. Now, the entire campaign is actually, I think it's going to be 12 parts. There's the prologue, and then there's chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then there's the big battle with the Awakened at the end. So it's a 12-part campaign, and we've done the first 2 videos. So if you want to see them, they are on the channel now. The first one was, we're basically doing them every other Tuesday. So there was one of them from about a month ago, which was the prologue, where we fought Vyraxen. And then 2 weeks after that, we did it on a Wednesday rather than a Tuesday, because David was still in Dublin. We fought Pasis, which is a yellow feathered birdie type creature. And tonight, we're going to be fighting Haidar. Now, absolutely love this game. Full disclosure, the first video that I did on this game, which was sometime around August, September last year, that was sponsored. And if you want to actually learn how to play the game, that is the best video to watch. Not my most recent ones. They're more playthroughs, but I actually did a proper tutorial and playthrough video of it in the second half of last year. And that is definitely the one to watch if you want to see the game being played and learn how to play it. The ones we're doing at the moment are not sponsored. So we've got these 12 videos, which are going to be spread out over a 6-month period. We're getting together every couple of weeks. These are not sponsored playthrough videos. We're doing it because we want to do it. I love the game and I want to play more of it. Davey loves the game. Rick loves the game. We all love the game and we just want to play more of it. That said, Reggie Games are doing a giveaway. So if you are interested in winning a copy of Primal the Awakening, and I believe it's not just the base game, it's all of the expansions. It's worth hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Then I am doing a giveaway. And the way that it works is that you essentially, you don't need to watch the whole video, but you need the details are in the video. So all you need to do is just go and watch one of my Primal videos and there will be details in that about how you enter the contest. But there's actually going to be, so how do I explain this? I've been trying to explain this to people and every time I don't do a very good job. There is one giveaway for one copy of the game. But what happens is every 2 weeks, I put a vote up about which boss are we going to fight next. So 2 weeks ago, I put a vote up and said, which boss are we going to fight next? And people voted on which one we were going to fight. Haidar got the most votes, so Haidar is the one that we're fighting. But everybody who voted, as long as they also leave a comment on the video, they get a ticket into the hat. That contest, the contest is still open, but last week's chance to enter has finished. You can't enter anymore, but all of those tickets are now in the hat. After tonight's video, there will be another form to fill in with which boss are we going to fight next. That form will be open for about a week and a half, and everybody can enter that one. And at the end of the entire campaign, I will do the draw and somebody will win. Essentially, if you watch every video, you've got 11 chances to enter. So yeah, you could get 11 tickets into the hat. And as a thank you for my Patreon supporters, if you are a Patreon supporter, you get an extra entry into the hat. So yes, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit disappointed that not many people have joined. We are only getting 90 people entering these contests each month. And I would have thought this was a big giveaway. I would have thought if I was a fan of the game and I saw somebody else doing a giveaway like this, I would be spreading the word to all my friends and I would be saying, look, this game is fantastic. You can win a copy of it. Here's how to enter. I mean, I would do that just because it's a great game and somebody who I know might win a copy of it. So yeah, if you've already entered yourself, please spread the word. I guess it's probably not in your interest to spread the word because then there's less chance of you winning, but please share it. Please tell everybody. Primal the Awakening is a fantastic game. Absolutely love it. And we're playing it again tonight. On Friday the 11th of April, I had a couple of games of Netrunner with Marcus. He came over in the afternoon and we played some games of Netrunner. Those were live streamed. If you want to see them, they are on the public channel. Netrunner, the collectible card game originally from 1996, designed by Richard Garfield. updated and relaunched by Fantasy Flight Games about, 15 years ago. And right now it's being kept alive by a company, a non-profit company called Null Signal Games. Null Signal Games sent me copies of all of the new stuff. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of the game, have been playing it for 29 years. Marcus is a huge fan of the game. Fix made a couple of decks for me. Thank you very much, Fix, for making those decks. And yeah, we did a couple of playthroughs on the 11th. While we're talking about Netrunner, Martin came over and we also played some games with him on the 27th. Now, those were Patreon-only ones. So the ones with Marcus were on the public channel. The ones with Martin were Patreon-only streams. But yeah, Netrunner is just a fantastic game. It's probably my favourite two-player head-to-head card game. If you don't know anything about it, it is based on the sort of cyberpunky neuromancer style. It's in the future, and it's all about corporations with big data servers and trying to protect those servers with electronic countermeasures, known as intrusion countermeasures electronics, which is called ICE. And the hackers are trying to hack into the network and reveal all of that stuff. It's a very, very good game, and I'm really happy that Null Signal Games have kept the game alive. Now, what's really good about Null Signal Games is that you can go onto their website and you can download PDFs of all the cards and print them out yourselves if you want to. You don't even need to buy the product from them. Obviously, you should to support them, but yeah, they really, really do a good job of supporting the game. So yeah, Netrunner had a few games of that. That makes me very happy. Also, on the evening of the 11th, we got Unfathomable to the table with the new expansion. So Unfathomable is one of those games that I shouldn't like because it does have Hidden Traitor. It does have people around the board sort of accusing other people of stuff like that. But I play it with people who I trust that they're not going to start getting shouty, angry, or take anything personally. And I just love the game. It's effectively a Cthulhu version of Battlestar Galactica. They've tweaked some of the rules, but the core mechanism is the same. I actually really like Unfathomable as a game. I've played it about 3 times. Asmodee UK sent me the expansion last year, and I promised that at some point I will get it covered on the channel. And that's what we did. So if you are interested in seeing that, it is a playthrough of Unfathomable with the new expansion, and that was from 11th of April. That is on the channel now if you want to go and watch it. It was a weird game. In some ways, it was the worst game that I've played of it because of how weird it was, but every time I play it, I enjoy it. What happened is we were passing the tests quite easily, and really easily. I was a human. And what happened in that game is that there were at least 3 tests that came up where we looked at what the downside would be. And it was like, oh, look, all passengers on the deck die. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. But there's no passengers on the deck. Or move the something marker back 1 space. Oh, well, that's absolutely terrible. Except, wait a minute, isn't it on the start space? So it wouldn't move back. So there were at least 3 tests in the game, and the tests are really important, and you have to work together to try and pass them, that we just all went, let's not bother, because the downside of not passing it, it's actually not that bad, and let's save our cards for something that's more important. So what ended up happening in that game is it seemed to be going really, really well for the humans, and the 2 players that were the hybrids, they didn't reveal themselves until, well, in fact, technically, they never actually revealed themselves in the game. So that's why I'm saying the game wasn't particularly as great as some other games that I've had, because what normally happens in the game is at some point, the hybrids, i.e. the traitors, will reveal themselves and then they'll start doing stuff. In our game, that actually never happened. By the time we'd sort of worked out who the 2 of them were, and I say worked out, they kind of said, they did something that made it obvious that they were the bad guys. The game ended before it got to their turn again, which means they never actually got a chance to technically reveal themselves and start doing all the really nasty evil stuff. Now, so yeah, I felt that we didn't have a full game, but what normally happens in the game is everything is really, really close to the wire. Everything is really tense. The ship is falling apart. There's deep ones raiding all over it. Half the crew are dead. Morale's really low. You're running out of food, and you only just managed to survive. We were winning easily. Like, our ship was damaged 2 in the whole game, one of which we repaired. The food was absolutely fine. The crew was absolutely fine. The passengers was absolutely fine. We were moving along the navigation track really, really quickly, thanks to a variety of different things. And it was like, this game is going a bit too easy for us, except we had one fuel left. So it was a really weird game in that 90% of it was going absolutely swimmingly, pun not intended, and going so well. We were like, well, how can we possibly lose this? And yet we only had one fuel left. And if that fuel runs out, it's game over. You lose. Well, the humans lose, the hybrids win. So in that one aspect of the game, it was extremely close to us losing. But in the rest of it, it was going really well. Yeah, Unfathomable. I wanted to play it again in the month. I just didn't get a chance because I really, really do enjoy it. Okay, zooming forward to the 17th of April, and this was a sponsored solo playthrough of Great Western Trail El Paso. Great Western Trail, the series of games, is now part of the Lookout brand of games, and I have a really good working relationship with Lookout Games. I've done some... I've not done any sponsored videos for them in the past, but I have done some proofreading and playtesting of some of their other games. Anyway, they contacted me and they said, would you like to do a sponsored playthrough of Great Western Trail El Paso? And I said yes very, very quickly, because Great Western Trail used to be a top 10 game for me. I actually personally think Maracaibo is slightly higher, but to be honest, I don't really know. Great Western Trail, I don't play the original game anymore. I play second edition because I believe it's an improved version. And Great Western Trail New Zealand if you want something more complicated. But love Great Western Trail, love how the game plays, been a big fan of it ever since it came out. Great Western Trail El Paso is a shorter, lighter version of it. And if you are a huge Great Western Trail fan, you might not like El Paso. I'm a huge Great Western Trail fan and I love El Paso. The reason why I love it is a 1 hour game which you can teach somebody in about 10 to 15 minutes, rather than a 3 hour game that takes 45 minutes to teach. It does distill down the core idea of Great Western Trail, where you are going around the board, you are trying to improve your hand of cows as you are travelling around, you'll build buildings, there's a train thing as well. It does a lot of things very different. It isn't just a shorter, lighter version of Great Western Trail, it is its own game, because it does some things different, like the workers. The way that the workers work in Great Western Trail El Paso is actually a little bit like a part of Great Western Trail New Zealand. It's a bit unusual. But anyway, there's a sponsored playthrough video of that showing the solo mode. Other channels did multiplayer modes and everything else. But yeah, that's on the channel from the 17th of April if you want to watch it. Two things about Great Western Trail El Paso that I want to talk about. As much as I love the game, they had to effectively release day one DLC. So the game came out and was printed and published, and they have released official errata for 2 parts of the game. So if you do have the game or you're going to get the game, make sure you go onto Lookout Games website and download that. Very simple. One of the buildings has 2 different effects, and they've said that that should have been a slash, so you do A or B instead of A and B. And you are no longer allowed to trash more than 5 cows from your hand over the course of the whole game. Because the game is available on Board Game Arena, which is really good. The game was available on Board Game Arena before it actually physically came out. And somebody apparently, broke the game by basically trashing loads and loads and loads of cows. It's very, very hard to do, but they did manage to do it. The other thing that I wanted to mention about it is I actually think the solo mode's a bit hard. Now, I've only played it a couple of times, but in both of those games, and I was playing on the easy setting, the bot that I was playing against absolutely trounced me. And I have a funny feeling, and I'm asking for your opinions on this. If you have played Great Western Trail El Paso yourself, do you think that the solo bot is a bit hard? It either is, or I just need to play the game a different way. Because the way that the solo bot works in Great Western Trail El Paso is that the bot is getting stronger and stronger and stronger as the game goes on, to the point where you get near the end of the game and it's buying the best type of cow for free, and it's building the best type of building for free, and it's going to the best part of the train for free. Whereas a human player would have to actually spend workers to do those things. The bot doesn't spend the workers. It could be that you just have to play the game quick, really quick, because like Maracaibo and Pirates of Maracaibo and Boone Lake as well, there is a part of the game where you can change the tempo of the game. Basically, the way it works is the timer of the game is based on how many times somebody has arrived at El Paso. Every time somebody arrives at El Paso, a card goes from a stack. When the stack's empty, the next player to go to El Paso ends the game. It's very, very similar to the original Great Western Trail, where every time somebody arrives at Kansas, is it Kansas? Yeah, I think it's Kansas. The marker moves down on the worker track, and when it goes off the bottom, the game ends. So that is the timer of the game. Well, you could have somebody that's like, oh, I'll go one space and do a thing. Then I'll go one space and do a thing. Then I'll go one space and do a thing. Or you could say, I'm going to go 3 or 4 spaces and do a thing. 3 or 4 spaces and do a thing. So the tempo of the game, the pace, the speed, and how long the game lasts is player driven. And it could just be that against the bot, you have to play really fast. You can't let the bot get into a position where it's doing all of the major stuff for free. And maybe that just doesn't suit me. Maybe I kind of want to go slowly and use all of the buildings. I don't know. Let me know what you think if you have played it. Next up on the 18th, Friday the 18th, in the afternoon, I did League of Six, the complete edition. Now, many of you will probably never have heard of League of Six. It is Vladimir Suhy's first published game. This is the guy that designed Underwater Cities, Pulsar 2849, Last Will, loads of other games. His most recent game was Rasafa, which I've not played yet, but he's done Messina 1547, he did Woodcraft with Ross, he's done loads of games. But League of Six was his first published game that came out with CGE back in 2007, I think it was. Yeah, same year as the original Galaxy Trucker came out. And I loved it. When League of Six first came out, I loved it. I thought the game was fantastic. And the year after, or 2 years after, they released a little expansion for it, which made it even better. So League of Six is one of those older games which I've been talking about for the last 10 years, saying, look, this is a really good game. I need to get it back to the channel and cover it and tell people about this game, even though it's been out of print for like 15 years. But anyway, at Essen last year, another company, Dino, they actually republished a new version of the game. Now, I say it's a new version of the game. It's not like Nippon, where it's a second edition. This is pretty much the same game. They've tweaked one rule, and they've actually got that tweak in as a variant, but you should always use it to do with the horses. But it's essentially a reprint of the original game, but with new artwork and stuff like that. Anyway, League of Six, fantastic game. Really, really enjoy the game. It is streamlined. The bidding mechanism is so clever. It is so clever in the way that it works. The interaction between the players and the way that they move around, I just love it. Really, really hard to try and put it into words. Just go and watch a bit of that video. That's all I will say. The game plays over 6 rounds. You just need to have watched round 1 to see how that game plays. That is on the channel now. It was a public playthrough from the 18th of April. It wasn't sponsored, and we actually have a round the table discussion at the end. I'd played it many times before. A couple of the other people at the table that day had played it before with me almost 20 years ago, and a couple of the people were new. So yeah, I think we played a 5-player game of it. Yeah, 5-player game of it is what we played. Right, that was in the afternoon, and then in the evening I did the other game that I mentioned earlier on, which I think was Nippon. Then, Baycon. Baycon is a UK board game convention that's been running for about 40 years. It happens just outside of Exeter, which is 20 minutes down the road for me. So I go to Baycon every year, and it's a great convention. And this is the first Baycon that I've been to for a few years where I wasn't doing any paid demoing. Normally at Baycon, there will be one game that I say, this is the game that I'm going to be running official demos of. And I will normally spend about 30 to 40% of my time doing official sponsored demos of a game. I've done Galactic Cruise there before, I've done Earth, but this year I decided, no, I'm just going to go there for me, I'm going to play some games, and I'm just going to, have an absolute blast. So I was there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I did a diary. So at the end of each day, I actually recorded a live diary when I got home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the games that I played. But if you really want to hear my full thoughts on those games from a caffeine-fueled me at 11 o'clock at night, then go and check out the videos. There was one on the Thursday night, one on the Friday night, and one on the Saturday night. But here's what I played. First up, I played the Anarchy. Now, the Anarchy is the game which I have recently done a how to play video for. This is designed by Bobby Hill, published by Garfield Games, and the how to play video that I did was a sponsored how to play video. And I'd never actually played the game. I wrote the script for the video, I filmed the video, and I edited the video, and I'd never actually played the game. Now, that's unusual. I normally do try and play the game, but because Garfield Games' rulebooks are normally really good, I felt very confident in creating the script. The script was checked by Shem and Bobby. Then I did the video was checked by Shem and Bobby. I was confident that it's all fine. Everything's going to be good, even though I haven't played it. But I so wanted to play this game, and I got my first chance to play it, and it was fantastic. As I say, if you want to find out my full honest thoughts, where I go on for about 10 minutes talking about it, go and check out my first evening's Baycon video. But that is the Anarchy. I played it 3-player. I played the easy classic scenario, so where you are going out and attacking other enemy castles. But on the Saturday, I played it again. And this time, I played a 4-player game using the easy siege mode scenario. So what had happened is, this was the last game that I played before I left Baycon on the Saturday night. It was not late on the Saturday, but it was about 8 o'clock on the Saturday night. Everybody's absolutely exhausted from playing games for the last 3 days, and they're very, very tired. But they said, Paul, what game do you want to play? And I said, well, honestly, I really want to play the Anarchy again. And they said, well, if you're happy to teach us, we'll happily play it. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So we did a 4-player game. Because it was late in the evening, we decided to play the easy siege mode scenario. Now, it says in the rulebook, if you want an easier first game, play the siege mode scenario. Because in the siege mode scenario, the part of the game where you have to go out and attack other castles, that's not in the game. So you have less rules overhead. Okay, great. Is it an easier game? Absolutely not, because instead of having to send your soldiers and your knights out to attack enemy castles, the cards which tell you how strong the attack on your castle is a lot harder. So there was me going, these numbers are a lot bigger than 2 days ago. 2 days ago I was getting attacked by strength 3 and 4. Now I'm getting attacked by strength 5 and 6. So I was able to cope with it, just about, because I'd played the game before, but the other players were like, I thought you said this was going to be easy. And they're faced with this massive attack on their castle every round. So it's really good that there's these 2 different modes. And although the siege mode scenarios are easier, because you don't have a part of the game, you don't have some rules that you need to learn, the game is still just as hard, because you have to defend your castle against, even bigger forces. So big that the numbers are bigger than what you can protect with the fortifications, which means you definitely need the other stuff. And that was the easy mode. I've not played the game on anything other than the easy mode yet. Now, I did play it a few days ago solo, but I'm going to talk about that in the next video log. So yeah, that was the Anarchy. I also played a 4-player game of Nefer, which is one of my favourite games from last year, from the same designer as Bitoku. I've already covered Nefer on the channel once or twice before. So yeah, and I've not done any sponsored playthrough videos for this, but Nefer, really good game. Really enjoyed Nefer. So did that. Also had a game of Black Forest, which was really good. And then I played Great Western Trail El Paso in the evening. 3-player game, me and Chris, and we taught Aidan how to play. The Friday of Baycon was, not going to lie, one of the best gaming experiences that I've ever had. And I went into that day fully expecting this day to be a phenomenal day. We'd set aside the entire day to play Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. We were going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning, 3-player, and we were going to play the entire campaign. Now, a campaign of Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era is 3 sessions. Each session is generally about 4 hours long, maybe a little bit longer. And we figured if we start at 9 in the morning, even with a couple of breaks for lunch and dinner, we've got a good 12 or 13 hours. We should get this done. We did not get this done. We actually finished 2 sessions, but wow, what a day. Now, we didn't get it finished because A, we were late starting for various reasons. B, we'd all played before, but there was a lot of reminding ourselves how things work, looking things up and everything else. By the end of the 12 hours, which we played for, probably about 10 actual playing hours, we were absolutely flowing. We were like, right, we know what this does now. We put a load of monsters on the board and we were like, yep, there's that and there's that and there's that. Yep, we're good with it now. So it is a big shame that we didn't actually get it finished, but I had an absolutely fantastic day. And again, I talk about this in a lot more detail in my video log at the end of Baycon Day 2. But yeah, Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, absolutely one of my probably top 5 games of all time. It's definitely that, and Galactic Cruise from this year are my 2 favourite games that have come out in 2025. But Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era is something very special. Really, really special. I really wanted to like Too Many Bones. A huge number of people who I know love Too Many Bones. And I have the Too Many Bones Trove Chest, and I've played it a load. And I've played it, I don't know, about 20 times. And I've covered it about 15 times on the channel. And I do enjoy Too Many Bones, but there was always something about it that didn't sit quite right for me. Part of it was the hieroglyphics and the confusing trying to work out what these icons mean. And, oh, there's a little letter A. What does that mean? Well, it means this kind of thing. With Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, it is a natural progression of the Too Many Bones system. I believe a much better version of the game. And it's just amazing. Absolutely love it. Can't wait to play it again. But it's a big overhead. There's a lot of preparation you need to do. There's a lot of rules in the game. But once you get to know it, it does actually flow quite well. On the Saturday of Baycon, which was my last day at the convention, I had a nice little filler game of Voidfall in the morning. 4 hours of Voidfall. Love Voidfall. Absolutely love the game. Think it's amazing and fantastic. And I remember when I started playing Voidfall, I was saying, this might be a top 3 game for me. Possibly even top 2. I think I even erred on the side of this is so good, this might actually compete with Mage Knight for my number 1 favourite game of all time. The more I've played Voidfall, my opinion of it has gone down slightly. It's still a fantastic game. Still an amazing, unbelievably fantastic game. But we had a 4-player game of it, which was 3 out of 4 on the player interaction scale. We had 0 interaction. Now, I don't go in for the big player interaction. I'm going to build up my spaceships and I'm going to attack you and everything else. My days of playing Eclipse and Twilight Imperium are behind me. I don't want that in games anymore. As in huge amounts of dice rolling for combat. But a game like Voidfall, and maybe we were playing it wrong, or maybe it was the houses or the factions that we chose, or just the players that we chose, or whatever. But I've played a lot of Voidfall now where there hasn't been any player versus player combat, and I've spoken to the designers about this, and it's what makes the game good is the potential threat of player versus player combat. So you can see that another player is building up their forces and they may attack you. So you have to build up your defenses so that they don't attack you. And because combat is deterministic, you can always work out, oh right, well I can't attack him now because he's built a couple of sector defenses. Right. Well, I'm going to develop torpedoes. And then he goes, I see your torpedoes and I raise you star bases. So the threat of conflict between the players is what keeps it interesting. But the rest of the game, the internal puzzle of which of these actions do I want to do when in order to make my plan work and get the most points, it's just great. The game is absolutely fantastic, but, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I think there should be more player versus player actual fighting in it. And you might think, well, that is down to the players, but depending on the map layout, it's only 3 cycles. You're probably only going to do 2 combats per cycle, maybe 3 if you've got the right combination of cards. There's not actually that much opportunity to do it. So yeah, I'm not sure. It's just, having played another 4-hour or 3.5-hour 4-player game where we didn't have a single player versus player combat. Now, there was one opportunity where Ray should have probably attacked me. I had a system quite tasty with some good stuff in it that was next to her. And I took the risk of moving most of my forces out of it to go somewhere else because I think she was so busy with working out her own puzzle of where she was going to attack and what she was going to build up and everything else that she didn't actually see as an opportunity and go, oh, wait a minute, Paul's left himself a bit wide open there. So That's a part of the game as well, because it's such a puzzly thing where players are working out what they're going to do with their cards. You do have to keep an eye on the board state, and you might have to change your plans if a better opportunity presents itself. Anyway, that was Voidfall. In the afternoon, I played a learning game of the new edition of Trismegistus, which I'm actually covering on the channel this Friday. So this is the new edition of Trismegistus from Board and Dice. They have updated the game. This is effectively second edition. I don't know why they're not calling it second edition, but it is. They've tweaked a lot of the rules. They've completely updated the entire artwork and graphic design, and that was a learning game of it. Now, it's not really fair for me to talk at length about that game because it was a learning game from a rule book that was still being written. In fact, I think it was being written while we were trying to learn the game. I was getting rules help from Board and Dice, so thank you very much to Board and Dice for being there and answering my questions while we were playing the game. It was just a learning game in preparation for me playing it this week. And then in the evening, we played the Anarchy that I mentioned earlier on. Baycon does actually continue until noon on the Sunday, but I don't go on the Sunday. So Sunday morning, I played some games of Netrunner with Martin that I spoke about earlier on. And then in the afternoon, we played Stress Botics. Now, Stress Botics is a game that I brought back from Essen Spiel last year, and I've been meaning to cover it on the channel, and I knew I was going to cover it on the channel, but I had to wait for the right time and the right moment. So Stress Botics is, I kind of said at the start that this might be the most complicated game that I've ever covered on the channel, because my impression about this game is it was very, very, very complex. And it is very complex, don't get me wrong. But having now played the game, it isn't as complex as I initially thought it was. It is still a very heavy game with a huge amount of rules overhead. And because this was not going to be a sponsored video, I basically have not had the time that it would have taken me to get the game, learn it, practice it, and all of that stuff. That would have probably taken me about 15 or 20 hours of preparation before I did the video. And it wasn't a sponsored video, and I just never found the opportunity or the time to do that. Thankfully, Martin, who was here anyway, he's a fan of the game. He has a copy of the game. He's already played it a number of times. He's already taught it a number of times. And Martin is actively involved with the community. He's helped put together the FAQ. So yeah, he taught me how to play. So we played a 4-player game with it. Did we do we did a 4-player game of it. And 2 of the other players had played before. In fact, they'd played before. Davey had played it before at GridCon. Kath had played it just a couple of days before at Baycon. And Martin had played before. So that is on the channel now. If you want to see a 4-player playthrough of Stress Botics, it's a very interesting game. I like the game. I do feel it is outside of my comfort level of complexity. Even though I have now played it, my problem is the next time I play that game, it will probably be, honestly, I'd love to play it again next week. That's not going to happen. The next 2 or 3 months for me are pretty much set and booked out. So in 4 or 5 months' time, if I manage to play it again, I'll have to relearn a lot of the stuff. And there were certain things in the game that were intuitive, certain things in the game that worked well, and the iconography was good and it was clear. And then there were other parts of the game, and I actually said this at the end, because this was not a sponsored playthrough video, I was very honest at the end of that video about my thoughts on it. So if you want to actually hear my detailed thoughts on it, go and check out the video, skip to the end, and there's a round the table discussion where we all give our thoughts on it. And even though the designer was in the chat at the time, I was very honest about certain parts of the game that I felt were too fiddly, too complex from a developer's point of view. And I have worked as a game developer for many, many years. That's a part of the game that I would have wanted to streamline out. Because if you've got a game with some rules in there that are just a bit fiddly, like complexity for complexity's sake, restrictions with no real reason why it's a restriction. Oh, well, you can move these things around. You can rearrange your resources between your 3 different storage containers, but you can only move them to the right. You can't move them to the left. And I'm like, well, why is that in there? Now, there's probably a very good reason why the designer has put that in there. He didn't just go, oh, let's just make the game more complex. But from my point of view, it made it harder to plan, harder to learn, harder to teach. And I didn't see any benefit to having that rule in there. I don't see why you can't just let players rearrange their resources at the end of the round freely. So there were a few things like that in the game that I felt it was just a little bit complex. But Stress Botics is a unique game. It's got a unique theme. It's all about these robots that are mining this planet. And there's like an alpha bot. And they're basically following the orders from the alpha bot. But they get stressed out. So your stress level actually negatively impacts you at the end of the game. Every point of stress is -1 point at the end of the game. But if your stress level goes too high, you can't actually make the deliveries which you need to deliver. So you're basically mining resources from this planet, including the lava and everything else, upgrading your little bot with various bits of kit and equipment, and then you're trying to collect various resources and deliver to the spaceships which are flying overhead. But you've got to get the timing absolutely right, because the yellow ship only arrives at a certain point here, the orange one will arrive at this point here and this point here, and you've got to be there at the right time to deliver it. So you've got to plan multiple turns in ahead to work out what you're going to get, where you're going to take it. And that is, the people that have played it have loved it. Generally speaking, the people that I know that have played it have said, yeah, they loved it and it was worth the time and effort to learn it because it is a unique game. For me, yeah, I'm glad that I learned it, and thank you very much to Martin for teaching me the game. But it just does have an overhead, and I don't know what my capacity long term is for going back to that game in 3 or 4 months' time and having to relearn certain parts of it again. But yeah, if you're interested in that, definitely check out the video on the channel, and if you just want to hear our thoughts, skip to the end and we all give our honest opinions on the game. So that's all of the games that I played in April. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this video, I've played a whole bunch of games since then before recording this video, but I'm going to talk about them in the next video log. But just to give you an idea, most of these videos are on the channel if you want to see them. White Castle with the expansion, Marrakesh solo mode, Terraforming Mars using the new Automa solo mode. What else did I do? I've really lost track. I did so many streams. I've done about 12 live streams over the 4 days prior to this, and to be honest, I'm absolutely exhausted and burnt out, so I can't quite remember exactly what I did. Oh, that was it. I did the solo the Anarchy. So I did the Anarchy solo, which was fantastic. I also did another playthrough of SETI, and I'm doing a giveaway for SETI, so I will mention that now. I'm doing a giveaway for a copy of SETI. If you want to know how to enter the contest, check out my SETI playthrough, which was from the 2nd of May. So that is on the channel now. 2nd of May, live playthrough, and I'm doing a giveaway for a copy of the game. I also did Star Wars Day on May the 4th, where we did Rebellion, then I played Star Wars the card game, then we played Outer Rim. Rebellion and Outer Rim were public streams there on the channel. I've also played some Mythwind, I'll talk about that next month. And then yesterday I played Agamonia all day. So yeah, there's been loads of other games that I've played after the end of April, but I'll talk about them in the next video. So, online games. Here's the list of the games that I've played online using Board Game Arena or whatever format over the last month. Heat, the online tournament, is still going on. I had a really, really good game of Heat where things were going well. I felt confident. I felt confident that I was going to win this game. But about halfway through the first lap, I was in 5th position. I was like, oh dear, what was going wrong here? But I played really well. I spent a lot of mental time and effort on playing this game, and I got it back, and I thought I was going to win. And then the player who I was competing with for first place managed to get, and in their words, a very, very, very lucky draw, and they just pipped me for the win. But yeah, that was a really good game of Heat. I've played 2 games of Pirates of Maracaibo, also on Board Game Arena. I've played a game of Ark Nova. I've played a couple of games of Lost Ruins of Arnak. I've been learning how to play Quartermaster General East Front. I didn't even know this existed, but I saw it on Board Game Arena. New game, Quartermaster General East Front. It's a 2-player card-driven game. Most of the Quartermaster General games are 6-player games. So I learned how to play it, and I've played a couple of games of that on Board Game Arena, and I've enjoyed it so much, I'm picking up a physical copy of the game at the end of this month. So yeah, Quartermaster General East Front, really good. I also played a game in the Wingspan tournament that I'm in. My Slack supporters, thank you Brett again for organising this. We have regular Board Game Arena tournaments that are being run. So if you are one of my Patreon supporters and you're not on the Slack channel, but you want to join in these tournaments that we organise, then let me know. I'm rubbish at Wingspan, absolutely rubbish at it. I get the idea of it. I just can't seem to do well at it. So I'm sure there's a skill there, but I'm just not seeing it. I always seem to have the wrong cards for the wrong place, or cards that don't match the objective, or I don't know what it is. But it's clearly a me problem, because the game is very good and a lot of people like it. But I'm just not sure. The other thing is Age of Steam. Now, Age of Steam is one of those games that I think I like. I want to play a lot more of. I have the deluxe version, but I very rarely get to play it. And there is a way that you can play this game. There is an unofficial website called Era of Trains, and it's a very good interface, although the resources don't appear on my iPad, which is a little bit unusual. But it's a way that you can play the game online. And I've played 2 games of this recently-ish. I think I played one last month, and I've played another one this month. And thank you very much to the people who I played it with. They were my patron supporters. But I'm now not sure that I want to play this game again. Now, Age of Steam is an extremely good game, and it is loved generally worldwide, and it is regarded as one of the best games that has ever been created and designed and whatever. But these 2 games of it have kind of said to me, I don't think this is the game for me. And I might be happy never playing it again now. And the reason for this is it's very punishing if you get something wrong. And I don't like that in games. I don't want to be punished for making a small, incorrect decision. A lot of people do, and that's absolutely fine. If you want to play your games with that level of tightness and punishingness, then you can. I'm not comfortable with that. It just is like, oh, I made that one mistake. That's literally it. All of that time and effort is gone and wasted. And you could say that about a lot of games. But I think a lot of games, like Lost Ruins of Arnak, let's take Lost Ruins of Arnak. It could be that you say, well, you should have gone to that location and risked it and picked up the fear card rather than going here, because if you'd have gone there, you'd have got the tablet, and then, so that one mistake cost me the game. You could say that about all games. But with Age of Steam, I just don't think I get it. I don't think I get that. I don't think my brain is working in the right way to be able to understand what that decision is. And that's where in that second game, I have to admit, I'm not enjoying this, because I know that I'm just not competent enough to play this game well. And it was the same with Tricerion, which is going to be leaving my collection soon. Fantastic game, but I just can't get it. My brain is just not working on that level. So yeah, so it's a little sad, because I really did want to really enjoy Age of Steam, but there's the punishing nature of that, and then there's the punishing nature of the other players. So I like games where I can plan ahead. And sure, somebody might go to the same worker placement spot as I wanted to, so I'll have a bit of a different plan. But Age of Steam is so tight. And if your entire plan is, right, okay, I've managed to get my locomotive up to 5, so I'm going to move that red good from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to give 4 money to me and 1 to him. But that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so I've done all of that. I've spent ages building the routes, planning this, doing that. Oh, another player bid 1 more than me, and they've taken first move, and they've taken it. Oh, rats. Okay, so what's my backup? Oh, my backup is I'm moving this from here to here, and I'm getting 1. And meanwhile, another player is getting 4. I'm talking about this as if it's a problem with the game. It's not a problem with the game. Everybody else is really enjoying it. For me, and let me know if you're in the same boat as I am, or the same train as I am, is that I was just getting frustrated by the other players playing the game better than me and doing the things that I was about to do, and therefore I ended up with no options. Anyway, I don't want to be all negative about the game, because it is very well respected. The game design is absolutely genius, but maybe it's just not for me. Okay, that is, I believe, pretty much everything. Now, there's one last thing that I want to talk about. Talisman. Let's talk about Talisman again, because I did a digital playthrough. And this is live. It's on the channel because they've released another expansion. So Talisman Digital 5th edition. They've released another expansion, which is Frost March, I think. And the developers of this game, Nomad Games, gave me a key so that I could show the game off. And I did a live stream of it. I got together with Board Game James, and we played a 2-player game of it, Talisman Digital. It's on the channel if you want to watch it. Unfortunately, We played it on the day of launch. Yeah, so the game came out and we did a live stream of it on the day of launch. Unfortunately, there was a very unusual bug. So what happened is, this is really funny and interesting. We got to the point of the game where we were about 2 turns left from the end, and suddenly the game crashed. So an exception came up, and I'm live streaming this, so you can actually see this. If you want to see this happen, I'm live streaming this. Boom, crash, game crashed. It's like, oh, right, well, we'll just relaunch it. Relaunched it, and Windows went, no, that's a virus. There's a virus in the file. I'm quarantining it. Oh, so it didn't launch. Right, so I go to Steam, I click play on Steam, and Steam says, you've got a file missing. So I'll download the file, right? I've downloaded the file, off you go, open. Windows went, no, virus, quarantine it. So we were live while we were doing this. We spent about 5 minutes basically trying to get this game working again. And they fixed it now, don't worry. And it's not a virus whatsoever, but there was something weird with a particular part of the game. When we got to a situation, some code was in there which Windows thought was a virus, and it crashed and everything else. Anyway, that was funny. So we never finished the game. But what I want to say is Nomad Games gave me another copy of the game. So I'm doing a giveaway. As part of this video log, I'm doing a giveaway. To enter the giveaway, what you need to do is, 1, fill in a form. There is a link to it in the description of this video. You just need to fill in a form, and you also need to leave me a comment on this video. Not the Talisman video, this video. So if you fill in the form, leave me a comment on this video, and I will do the draw in a couple of weeks' time, and you can win a copy of Talisman Digital 5th edition. And if you don't want it, you can give the key to a friend. It's like 20 quid or 22 quid. It's quite expensive for a digital adaptation. But as much as I hated Talisman, and I've spent the last 15, 20 years saying Talisman is an awful game and I never want to play it again, I've actually played it a few times using the digital version. And yes, it is dice rolling, but it's actually quite good fun. More fun than, say, Space Crusade and Hero Quest, which I went back to them and had an absolutely awful experience playing those. Talisman I quite liked. So yeah, that's it. That's the giveaway. So yes, fill in the form, leave me a comment on this video, and I will do the draw in a couple of weeks' time. And just as a reminder, if you are one of my Patreon supporters, you will be getting an additional message through Patreon to a link to a bonus vlog video where I will be ranking all of the games that I've played that I talk about in this video. So keep an eye out on the Patreon page for that, and thank you very much for your support. Right, in this section of the video, I'm going to talk about what's coming soon. But all of these things have already happened and they've been on the channel. So White Castle Matcha, Anarchy Solo, SETI with the giveaway, don't forget about the giveaway, Marrakesh Solo, Terraforming Mars Solo, Star Wars Rebellion, Star Wars Outer Rim. Yeah, those videos are all on the channel. I will talk about my thoughts on them in next month's video log, but they're all there if you want to go and watch them. So what's coming up this month? Well, tonight, Primal the Awakening. We are fighting Haidar, and then in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be doing another battle. So yeah, we've got, roughly speaking, 2 Primal the Awakening games each month for the next few months. On Thursday, I have a Kickstarter preview video. This is for a game called Rumian that Mark from Ninja Geek Games has done for me. That's going to be going public on Thursday afternoon. This Friday, Trismegistus. So that's happening. The video is already there on the channel, set, ready to go if you're interested. Friday, the 9th of May, 8 o'clock in the PM. Trismegistus, the new edition of that. We've got a 3-player game coming for you. The Friday afterwards, very, very excited about this because I'm getting to cover Assyria. This is a new game coming from Garfield Games, but it's Assyria 2nd edition, based on the older game called Assyria, which I absolutely love. I still have a copy of the old Assyria, and a little bit like, you know, League of Six or Nippon, this is an older game that I absolutely love, and they're bringing out a 2nd edition of it. So that game has arrived, the new edition of Assyria has arrived, and yeah, I'm going to be covering that on the 16th. And then the week before UK Games Expo, another older game that is getting a new version, Colosseum. Originally from Days of Wonder, then Tasty Minstrel Games redid it, and I have to be honest, didn't do a very good job with it. And Fantasia Games, the people behind Endless Winter and Unconscious Mind, they've got the license and they are doing a new version of Colosseum. Colosseum's a great game. Really, really good, classic, old game, and very, very good. So yes, I'm covering that the Tuesday before UK Games Expo. So yeah, in about 3 weeks' time from now. Also coming up over the next month should be my Gloomhaven 2nd edition video. I need to check with the publisher to see when this video is going to be out because of the current tariff situation going on. I think the Gloomhaven 2nd edition containers might be held up. But anyway, I've only got about a day's work left to do on that, and I'm doing a video, not a full how to play video on Gloomhaven 2nd edition, but actually just a what's different in Gloomhaven 2nd edition compared to Gloomhaven and Frosthaven. Because Frosthaven brought the Gloomhaven system and tweaked it a bit, and then Gloomhaven 2nd edition follows on from that. Now, the city phase in Gloomhaven 2nd edition is nowhere near as detailed and as complex as in Frosthaven, but it is a little bit more than it was in the original Gloomhaven. And then the other thing that I'm going to be starting to work on possibly this week is the how to play videos for Perseverance episodes 3 and 4. Now, the physical game hasn't arrived yet. I believe that Mind Clash Games have got one of the mass production copies of the game. They're going to be checking it out, making sure it's all okay, and they're going to be sending it to me. But it's going to be, to be honest, it's going to take me probably 2 to 3 months to create these videos because I'm doing them in between all of my other work. And these videos are going to take me a long time to create. Probably, if you're interested, maybe about 100 to 120 hours. Maybe I'm overestimating it. I don't know. But these videos are going to be standalone videos. You don't need to have watched my previous videos in order to do these because episodes 3 and 4 is a standalone product, and there will be people who buy episodes 3 and 4 who haven't played episodes 1 and 2. So essentially, I am creating videos for 3 and 4, not assuming any prior knowledge of 1 and 2. That does mean if you already know the Perseverance system, you're going to have to sit through a part of the video that you already know, but there's a lot of changes, so definitely don't skip ahead. Right, that is, I think, mostly what's coming up over the next few weeks. So let's give you an update on the Patreon. Now, bearing in mind, I was going to be recording this video last week, and at that point, for the first time in 4 months, Patreon support had actually not dropped, it had gone up. So we had gained, at this point last week, we'd gained 4 people. Now, that doesn't mean we'd gained 4 actual people, we'd gained about 24 people, but we'd lost about 20 people. However, since last week, it's the start of the month, and what happens is at the start of every month, about 15 people disappear. Now, those 15 people, well, about 3 of them have actually left. The other 13, or the other 12 of them, their membership has been declined. Because what normally happens is people get a new credit card or something like that, and Patreon doesn't tell them. So it shows up on my report that they're a declined member, and quite often Patreon doesn't tell them. So yeah, if you're one of my Patreon supporters, please just check that the payment did go out. And if it didn't, it's probably because you had a new... I mean, yeah, if you've had a new card in the last month or two and you think you're one of my Patreon supporters, please log on to the Patreon system and just double check that your membership is still active. Because yeah, I lose quite a lot of people each month from that. And it's kind of down to me to contact them, which I don't like doing. But if I don't, Patreon doesn't. And I remember that there are a few of my supporters over the last couple of years that I reached out to and said, just to let you know, not a problem, but your membership declined a few months ago. And they went, oh, I didn't know that. I thought I'd been supporting you and I thought I was one of your supporters. And I'm like, yeah, you was, but your membership has been declined for 3 months. So yeah, a lot of people don't actually realise that. But anyway, as I say, Patreon support is still dropping. It is one of those things. It's not ideal, but you know, I'm not complaining about it. There are things going on in the world right now, and everybody who is leaving the Patreon is leaving for, you know, their own reasons. What is to be positive about is the new people that are joining the Patreon. So on screen now is a list of all of the people who've joined the Patreon since last month. So a huge thank you to all of you for joining the Patreon. The Patreon support is amazing as always. I will be absolutely honest with you. It has been a bit of a knock to my confidence, and it's been a bit demoralising to see that, you know, every month for the last 3 years, Patreon support has been gradually going up, and then this year, starting in January, Patreon support has been gradually dropping. And I thought initially maybe it was just 1 month, but actually it's been a steadily going down every month. But as I say, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world at the moment. So yeah, if you are in a position to be able to support me on Patreon, that is fantastic. If you're not in a position, just leaving me comments on the videos, watching the videos, or just engaging with me, which doesn't cost anything, then that's all good as well. So a couple of things related to the Patreon. I'm going to be doing a series of giveaways over the next few months because I have been trying to cut down my games collection. I have run out of space. I've got games piled up everywhere, and there's more games arriving all of the time, and a lot of the new games that are arriving are big box games, and I just don't have the space for all of my games. So I'm having to be more and more ruthless with the games that I've got, and I've been starting to move games into the attic. Now, the attic is basically death row for my games, but what I do each year is I put them all into the charity raffle at GridCon. But last month I went up into the attic and I started cataloguing all of my games that I have in the attic, and I went, this is way too many. I could put all of these games into the raffle at GridCon, but it's too many. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a series of Patreon giveaways. So I've already started this. What I do every so often is I run a report of all of my Patreon supporters, and I pick somebody at random and I contact them and say, I'm going to give you a game. And I do. Now, ideally, that person is based in the UK and I can post it to them or give it to them or whatever, but I don't want to just keep it to people in the UK. So it does mean that I will have to find a box, package it up, and send copies of the game around the world. But to be honest, I have such a good feeling about the people who support me on Patreon. I can't do what I do without your support, that it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me the fact that I'm going to send you some games and it's going to cost me 20 quid in postage, whatever. So that's it. So what I've done is in the last few weeks, I've given away a copy of Power Grid Factory Manager. I've given a copy of Ragusa away. I have given away a copy of Great Western Trail El Paso because I ended up with 2 copies because of an accident. So I gave one of them away. And I've actually given away my entire collection of Imperium, the card game. Yeah. So I'm not just giving away old rubbishy games. I'm actually giving away some good games. And why have I got rid of my copy of Imperium? It's because I've got Star Trek Captain's Chair, and there will never be a time where I will want to play Imperium over Star Trek Captain's Chair. So yeah, it's gone to a good home. I hope. But yes. So yeah, and there'll be more. So basically, if you're one of my Patreon supporters, keep an eye on your email because you may get random emails from me to say I'm going to send some games to you, if you want them, of course. The other thing that I want to mention is the charity. So every month we give away all of the advertising revenue to charity. If you are new to my channel and you're watching this video for the first time, you might not know this, but every single video that I do, every penny of that advertising revenue goes to charity. I do this every month. We give approximately £500 away every month to a charity. And I normally tell you in these videos which charity it has gone to. And I'll be honest with you, we're behind. We haven't chosen a charity this month. We have been very behind on things because of life events that have been going on. So we haven't given any money to charity. We've got the money sat there and we will give it to charity. But this is a call out for you. If you are one of my Patreon supporters, please get in contact with me if you have a charity that you think we should donate to. Now, a few of you did this the last time that you contacted me, and I have to apologise because I didn't make a note of that anywhere. So some people sent me emails, some people left me a comment on this video, some people contacted me privately over Slack or Messenger or whatever. If you did, please send it to me again, because I know some of you gave me some suggestions and I've lost track of those suggestions. So yes, we're more than happy to donate money to any good causes around the world. It doesn't have to be based in the UK, but please let me know if you've got any ideas about where we can send the charity money to for the next few months. One thing that I did want to mention though, and I actually tried talking about this in the last live Q&A, and if you want to see me in the middle of a live stream break down and start crying, then go and watch the live Q&A from April, because there was a point in the Q&A in April where I wanted to talk about this, and as soon as I started talking about it, I knew what was going to happen, because I'm a very emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I am very affected by by emotional things. And I started talking about it, and as soon as I started talking about it, I could feel it. And I thought, I'm not going to get through this. And then I carried on talking about it, and I thought, oh no, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I'm talking about it. And then suddenly, boom, and I hit that wall, and I just stopped. So that was live on camera in the last Q&A that I did. With this video, I can talk about it, because if that happens to be right now, I can just edit it out. But essentially, we give the charity money, as I've mentioned, every month. We send like £500 to charity. Sometimes we split it 250 if we've got multiple charities, or we feel it's a smaller charity. Now, some of those charities we support are some of the bigger charities like Mind or Macmillan Cancer Support or Cancer Research, or all of those big charities that are very well known. And they say thank you. You know, we'll get a standard letter or an email or something, you know, saying thank you. And that's always nice to have. What they often do is they then add me to their distribution list, and they start sending me a wad full of paperwork every 2 weeks. I don't want that. You know, I've given you the money. I don't want you to now spend money to constantly send me more stuff. But there was one charity that we supported a couple of months ago. And it was a smaller charity, and it was to do with children's leukemia, I think it was. And in the post one day, we just got this card. Oh, I can feel it happening. And it was a handwritten thank you card. I got that through the post, and it actually happened at a very opportune moment for me, because as I mentioned at the start of this video, I have mental health issues. I go ups and downs, and I was having a particularly down couple of days where I was losing all of my confidence, you know, was about to cancel the channel and all of this lot. I go through this quite often. You know, is what I'm doing worthwhile, and all of that sort of, you know, things. And then I got this handwritten letter. That's something in my throat. I got this handwritten letter through from the people at this charity that basically were extremely thankful for what we'd done, and they'd all signed it, and they said where the money was going, and it just made me think, yeah, we're doing a good thing here, and we are going to continue to do a good thing. So I have to say a big thank you again to all of my Patreon supporters. If it wasn't for your support, not only would I not be able to do what I do, and I generally love doing what I do, is that I wouldn't be in a position to be able to give this amount of money to charity every month. So you are making a difference, not only to my Patreon supporters that fund me financially and allow me to be able to do this, but even if you're not one of my Patreon supporters, if you are a regular viewer of mine, then every view on the videos that I do all contributes to that money that goes to charity. So yeah, just thank you. Thank you for making this possible. Yeah, you can't beat it. And that's everything. We're wrapping everything up on a happy note. So it's 5 o'clock now. I've got Primal happening in a few hours time, so I need to set the studio up ready for this. I will hopefully, the plan is to edit this video tomorrow, and I will try and get this video out tomorrow. Other than that, leave me a comment on the video. Don't forget about the contest. Don't forget about the SETI giveaway. Don't forget about the Primal giveaway, and also the Talisman giveaway. And yeah, let me know, as always, comments on this video. I read through every single one of them. I don't get a chance to reply to every single one, but I do read through them. So yeah, leave me a comment. Tell me of the games that I've talked about, which was your favourite. Tell me if you have the same thoughts on Age of Steam as I do, or Too Many Bones as I do, or anything else that I've spoken about. Just let me know. But for now, I'm going to sign off and say thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-byes.